Amazing. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Stuart? Good? Super
Yeah, I'm
nice
good.
to see you.
Oh, it's great to see you as well. They're absolutely fantastic to see you as well. Are you calling from London or Milan at the moment?
No, from London, from London. Because, I mean, it's, with all that is going on, unfortunately, the show was postponed.
Oh,
So yeah, the team is working great. So basically, you can see that there are a lot of things online. And then also, we had kind of like virtual um, exhibition with the Mi Art Collection Museum, virtual museum. And then I think the best thing in this case is just trying to think about the ethic and what you're doing. And I really appreciate the gallery and the curator that's like they sit down and say, you know what, we've done a great job. I think the best thing, we want to have a proper opening. So instead to have that there's a lot of opening right now that you can book the spots, and then they say no, we want to have like a proper opening, a proper social event. We want to see the interaction. We want to show your work properly. So, okay, we're gonna wait a bit. The painting arrived there in Milan. Everything is carry on. We got an amazing catalog. It's wonderful. But still, I'm in London at the moment. I was in Milan and then rushed back here because the restriction changed. So I had like kind of like 48 hours to kind of like rush on a plane, come back here, and then make sure that I'm not gonna do the quarantine. So yeah, a little bit of uncertain times, and then
yes. Yeah, and for a lot of artists, I suppose it's the same thing. So, you've been planning Metamorphosis, the show. I
yeah,
know quite
yeah,
well. You've been planning it since the beginning of the year. It's taken you a
yeah,
long time to
yeah,
put
long
this
time,
together.
long time.
And so it's a pragmatic decision to pause the show and then when everything's sorted out, put it on later.
It was really hard. I mean, first instance, we were a little bit shocked because you know how can this happen? I just booked my flight and I was just there, and after 9 hours, they say, you know what, things are changing right now. So yeah, it was really shocking at the beginning, and then yeah, I think that the galleries was so good that she was trying to find the best way, and yeah, when there's so much work involved, I think that one of the best things that you want to do, just make sure that you you present it at the best way also for everyone involved, and then for the people as well that is passionate about your work and want to be part of this journey, and then for the collectors, for everyone. So yeah, no worry, the show goes on. Will go on at
The
some
show will the
point.
show will go on.
Will go on at some point. And yeah, the thing is that we started to talk about the show already with a lot of people. So you may have seen quite a lot of painting online, and it was also another decision because we wanted, to hide everything at the beginning. Say, we want to make something, we want to wait until the end. But then I think that it was a fair decision to kind of like let the public a little bit get involved, and yeah, so yeah, it has been quite an interesting journey, and then my work changed a lot in the past, as you may have seen in the past couple of years, 2 3 years, and this time it was a proper kind of like a different presentation. For this reason, we called the show Metamorphosis. I decided to call the show Metamorphosis because it show a proper transformation of my work in the past 2 3 years, and then you can see it and you can interact with the show in a different way. So yeah.
I did wonder about that because I know that when you were talking about this show to me before, there was a lot about. I mean, this is why you've got to have people there. I mean, you can put the
Yeah.
work online, but actually, the way that you'd imagined the show was to interact, for people to go
Yes.
around, and
Yes.
everything joins up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's an immersive experience. Is that
Yes.
right, Joe?
Yes. Exactly. It's more kind of like an immersive experience because you have the opportunity to browse from the early drawing, from the sketches, and then you can see the small painting, and then until you walk around the room, and then you will see the light work, the work with the LED light, with the neon. Hello, Sam. And then it will be different, because you will understand why I arrived to this work, why my process took me there. You know, so this is also interesting, because I want to show why I'm now kind of like employing the LED light in my work. So it's not something that is kind of like randomly happening. It's something that I've been planning for a long time, and then I went through all kind of like the risky things and say, okay, what's going on? Why do I have to, you know, what is happening? Is it really necessary? And then, yes, it was. I like taking risks.
Well, and you've got to take risks in these things. You've got to try the different things all the time. But I am interested in this journey element. I mean, there's the end result of the show, which is an experiential exhibition. But you talked about it being a journey for 2 or 3 years, so from one place to the other. So tell me about that journey and what has gone on in that time for you.
Yeah. So basically, at the beginning, it was more like a research about the color in nature. So the color, the movement. So I've been studying the color, and in the butterfly of the rainforest, especially on the morpho species. And then I've been studying and looking through the movement of the bird wings for the past like 2 or 3 years. And then I was like combining the two things together. And what happened? I had this, I've been able to create this work that were kind of like large, powerful, energetic. I wasn't, you know, my work is about like half and half projects, but also there's like a lot of intuition. There's a lot about mark making, and then let the work speak itself. It's a dialogue between me and the work, so which is really interesting. So I will never know what is gonna happen until the end. Okay.
Are you getting a cup of tea there? If it's a cup of tea, just let him come in. I've got one.
No, I was like, okay, you can watch this movie now. Okay, and mommy's gonna. Yeah, no, she has been like super good. Yeah. By the way, let's come back to the topic, and which I forgot. Blah, 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 blah. So
we're talking about the journey of the work and how it, you know, it's adapted over that time.
Yes. So yeah, I was more investigating, yes, about the colors and the movement, and then I was like going deeper, and it wasn't anymore about only the movement and the colors. It was about the energy, and then this color, what kind of color I'm using. I'm not using a kind of like primary color or kind of like predictable color combination. I at some point was looking more into like a blue color, and the luminescence effect, which is in nature, happen a lot with the morpho butterfly, because they have these kind of like, I don't want to get like, you know, everyone bored, but they have like microstructures in their wings, and they play with the wavelengths in order to create these amazing effects. And then, and also the birds can detect the blue light in nature, because they have a protein in the eyes, which is called cryptochrome. And then, I mean, it's all these amazing scientific, you know, knowledge that at some point was putting me in a position that I wanted to understand a little bit more in terms of color. So I told myself, okay, what about increasing this color? What about making this color more powerful? How can I do that? And okay. And at some point, I had this idea about the LED light, and then see and play. Let's see how to integrate the light, the neon lights, within my work. And at some point, I started to think about the LED light, the neon. What was quite an interesting process, because my first neon light were kind of like old school, really hard to, I don't know, use in terms of integrating with the work, because I don't want to exactly reveal how I do that, but I must say it's not easy. And then so I changed, and then now I have more sophisticated glass LED neon lights, and more expensive and more delicate, but certainly I think that the best. So yeah, it's even this one. It's part of like learning a new skills, learning how to use it, your tools. So yeah, really interesting.
So there's a lot there about the transformational effect of light and colour. So you're spending a lot of time looking at the natural world, is what I'm hearing there. The natural world around you, being inspired by the colours that they bring out, and then what you're using something like a neon just to explore the different ways in which that colour can ebb and flow, metamorphosize, if you like.
Yes.
You've always enjoyed, I mean, I suppose that's something that's always been, you know, key in your work, actually. When you look at your work, even before now, it's colour, it's striking in terms of the abstract nature of how you present colour. Has that always been at the forefront of your practice then? Is that?
Not really, because I was more interested in the movement at the beginning, and it was really interesting how actually I think that like my eyes were distorting the color, so there was kind of like a distortion from the way I was looking at the color, because I think that sometimes I was playing with the color. I know what I was doing, but while I was painting, I changed completely. It was like changing the reality just there, and then follow with the flow, just going really with the flow and see what is happening. So I think in terms of abstraction, what is for me the challenge is always about composition, balance, and try to see where the color is taking you. So very quickly understand the next movement, which is very interesting. I really like painting, especially for that. It's kind of like, I don't know, mind game. You need to be strategic and understand what's going on and very quickly act.
So is it quite, how should I describe it? It's sort of like you're in the moment, you're doing it, and you're going where the moment takes you when you're creating a piece. Is that right? Do you feel that you just like, you zone out, nothing else is there? Yeah, and you're just creating.
Yeah, from not at the beginning. After, let's say, half of the work, because at the beginning, I know I start with a diagonal usually, because it's what is important for me. So it's all about giving the right start, and then in terms of movement, the line is important and the direction of the line. But then, when I start to paint, there's a moment in which, you know what, I don't even know where I am. I can't hear anything. It's just like I'm completely in another place. I'm just like, I'm zoned out. I don't know. And this is really fascinating. And this there where I kind of like chase the line, I chase the mark, and I'm trying to, you know, to follow also the colors and to find the composition, a balance in the composition. And I think that is really challenging. It's really challenging. As I said, it's more like trying to plan ahead. You have to plan ahead. And then, believe it or not, with the experience, you will be able to plan ahead the movement.
So it's a sort of like you've got a, how should you say, you've got a starting point. And then what I'm hearing is there's like a momentum happening.
Yeah. Yes. And also you need to get ready, because if you've got some other situation going on in your life, you're not gonna get out of the studio like that. You're in the
zone, basically. In the zone.
No, you're gonna stay there for how long it's required from yourself, and then you just need to finish what you're doing. Yeah.
No matter what is going on around you, that's it.
Probably only kind of like fire alarm or something like that. But don't even that, because when it happened in my studio, I stay there. I was like,
it's like, what? In the zone. If you're in the zone, you're in the zone. Not that we're condoning that. So when you talked about the work that you've got now, so just going back to the work that you've got now, you talked about being inspired by this sort of movement, and you mentioned the bird wings and the butterfly. So really looking at the movement of nature and how you can translate that into your own way. Has nature always been an inspiration, or is this something that's newly coming out in this body of work?
No, from always. I mean, since I moved here in Wimbledon with the studio, nature has always been my main inspiration. I must say that also I'm in South London. I'm close to the Wimbledon Common, and I think that also this is why my work is so full of inspiration as well. Part of my journey is also going for a walk and then taking some notes and then listening to the birds. Um, it's important for me. I mean, I really, really need to walk and process. It's important. Walk and process. This is something that is kind of like really important for my work in the studio as well. And then I also must say walking. Walking is important. So yeah, I need to process the idea. I need to process my thoughts, and this is the only way that I can do it. I mean, this is how it's working for me at the moment. So always been work. So
It sounds quite meditative, that.
yeah,
To get out into nature and just be at one with what's around you, so that you can formulate your thoughts. Is that right?
yeah, yeah. And also the color that you can find in nature are so, I don't know, so particular. They're peculiar. The brown are not the same brown that you can buy from, the the art shop
Yeah.
in in yeah, in London. The colors, you want to look at this color. You want your eyes get kind of like used to real and real color. I mean, it's for me it's really important, the contact with nature. It's really important. Even the trees, the leaves. I need to see these things, and then I can process and work properly in the studio.
And when you're doing this sort of thing, do you find that your work changes then with the seasons? Because obviously we're coming into, and it's autumn now. The colours have changed completely, haven't they? We're seeing lots of different shades and whatnot. Does that influence it at all?
I don't know, not really. What I can tell you is certainly the mood will change my work, because it was funny that I saw some work that I created during the lockdown, the first beginning, like March, yeah, April, June, and then the rest of the work that I created during the summer. I mean, you can't believe it. It's like they were kind of like saturated color, like calmer, but also you can feel that there's something going on maybe. And then in the summertime, suddenly explosion of like pink and green and yellow, and maybe I was also thinking like freedom and then like I needed kind of like to have different breathing something different. So yeah, certainly I can tell you that the mood will really influence the work. Certainly. I mean, the season, I don't know, London season are a little bit funny, so they're not
No,
winter sport season.
I mean that is range. I want to talk to you about, because we talked a lot about the nature influences in
Yeah.
your work, but also science comes. You've got science influence in there. So tell me something about what it is that you bring into your work from the field of science.
Certainly now the luminescence color. So I want really, really to investigate bioluminescence as well. So how can we employ a real kind of like natural way of source of light in our lives? So I'm really interested to see not only kind of like animals like butterflies or other kind of like insects, but also in plants. So I would be really interested to see the scientific process that can can be used to create luminescence plants, even if I know that is quite complex, but this is what I'm at the moment. I'm looking into that, so I'm really interested. And in terms of movement, I have been studying the movement of the bird's wings, and following a mathematical theory from a scientist called Brunelli, a mathematician, and which explained the flight of the birds, which is the same of the flight of the plane. And it was explaining how basically, you have to think about this diagonal line, and then you have like this pressure that is going from here and there, and then there's a moment of suspension, and this moment is where you have the uplifting moment of the flight, when the flight happening, and the flight of the birds and the flight of the plane. So I'm really interested about this, not the duality, but also how nature, how science is inspired by nature, and how these two are strictly connected. Because if we think about living system as also as living system, we are, you know, correlated with art. So it's all about, okay, science and art. I'm making art, but I'm also part of something bigger than art. It's, I mean, I think that is something that we can't divide. Since the moment that we are living in this planet, we are under different laws. So, I really want to know how can actually science and art can help in a way that, like, for example, in a creative way. Let's say that the process of the method that scientists usually employ in his work is more like empiric, but an artist's vision can help these scientists to see things in different way. So, so yeah, I think that we need to be always kind of like open on different scenarios, and then understand that our point of view is actually wider than we think. And it's for me it's the combination between art and science, especially in my work, is like it's one thing. It's different for me to think about divide this.
There's an interconnectedness that I'm seeing. It goes back to that what we were talking briefly about, the flow. I think, you know, when you were talking about getting into the zone and nothing can stop you. Just there could be alarms going off and you're there. And it seems to be that's the interconnected nature of, I don't know, maybe what you've absorbed in your reading. You're learning around the mathematics or the science of a particular topic or area, and then you're just putting that into practice. You're just doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably very interesting question. Probably, I think that from the moment that I knew and that I recognized that my work is not only my work, but is really connected from a scientific from a scientific way to other things. In that moment, I realized that I can't stop. I really need to, investigate and carry on with my research, because it's just like something that is telling you it's not ended here. It's just like, what's next, and then you find something, you discover something else, and then it's like something that you I don't know, is feeding me basically. And it's like the Fibonacci sequence. When you understand that everything is like under a particular order, that we don't know how it's possible, that is everything connected, I would say before, you will start to look into think even into your work and say, okay, this is not only happening with the Aurea section, this is like happening within my work now. So I want to know more. Know more. I mean, I think that what can be an issue in the connection between art and science could be maybe the facilities, could be maybe the tools, the materials, could be maybe, I think that if we would like really to go further with maybe some different experimentation and create something different, maybe on a large scale or really innovative, yes, this point maybe what can block you, and maybe what you need in maybe different source of finance, or maybe you can ask for funding or investor that can support your work, because I think that is really important, that if you believe in your ideas and you think that there's something that is it's sparkling there, and then you can have the vision. Yes, I think that it's important that you chase this vision and you try not to taking your risk, and then convince maybe your community, you've got something there that it's worth to invest.
So just want to ask you, just based on what you just said, that so your background before, wider than just than being an artist. Do you have a scientific background or a mathematical? What's brought you to this place? Or is it just an innate interest?
Not at all, which is super funny because believe it or not at all. No, it's really interesting. I think curiosity, I think that my last years at university were really interesting with fantastic tutors and professors. And there was, I was studying more than usual. And the questions that were posing me were more critical, more interesting. And, there was some point in which I was thinking, okay, I want to do more. But my background is very artistic, so I kind of like trying to answer all these questions with art. And then happened that I told myself, okay, you know what, you don't need to actually go for a different degree. You can actually try to understand what can go alongside what you're doing, and then I was lucky because. At some point in my life, I worked with the Natural History Museum as well. I had the opportunity to talk with scientists and really interesting people. And then I saw that, everything is there. There's a really, we are working in parallel with these people, with these scientists in a different way. Even today was really interesting that we had some lesson university with method, what kind of method we use in our work. And I was thinking that scientists most of the time they work like artists. They collect evidence, they work with photography, they write. I mean, the approach is not very different. It's not very different.
When you make the links like that, when you compare the two, it's absolutely right. You're both experimenting, you're both trying different things.
Yeah, exactly.
Exploring the extent of your practice or your work, where you could go with it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's probably ideal. Goes back to the title of your, soon to be exhibition, Metamorphosis. When it comes in, it is an example, particularly when you talk about your experiences in university there and how you might have been thinking at that point to now.
Yeah.
That actually, when you think of Metamorphosis, there's a long journey there, isn't there?
Yes, exactly. It just is not that, it's when you see, I mean, the process is what really has always interested me. It's never the final work, never. Because it's like, how do you arrive to that? Even when you see a beautiful artwork or something that you really like, you feel that, you feel like fulfilled, you feel impressed, like, oh wow, this is incredible, this is beautiful. But the thing is like, how do you arrive at that point? It's not all about looking at something and thinking, oh, okay, it's done. No, it's not finished. I'm always been interested, like, the process for me is everything, and sometimes can take several years, can take a life. There are artists that maybe you just discover about their work, and you impress because their work are beautiful, but then maybe you discover that these guys have been doing their work for the past 30 years. So, and only maybe the last decade you can recognize kind of like a particular style or particular meaning. It's just because it's like, it's a long process, I think. And to be honest, I think that being an artist is also a long-term commitment. So we had a lot of discussion in the past with other people. And recently I saw a lot of artists that kind of like quit their job, change career. And then sometimes it's just like, there are things that I don't really understand. I think that is really important to understand that it's like, it's a long journey. It's a long-term commitment. So you know, you have to deal with a lot of things, with the up, with up and down, with failure. I will never, you know, actually use the word failure. It's more always like try to understand, try to evolve, and then you have kind of like again, you know, wake up again, stand up again, and then go back at your work, keep going, because if you don't believe in what you do, I mean, no one will. And then also, if it's about, you know, what you need really to do in terms of like expression, it's what's the point? It's not that you have a goal like I want to make this today, and if it's, you know, if it's not beautiful, I will give up on painting for the rest of my life. Not at all. It's more about understand, you know, familiarize with your tool, and then evolve, grow, and then you know, being open to the rest of the unknown. So
There's
yeah.
a lot of continual learning going on there. So when you talk about, you know, a process, and it's really interesting to hear you talk about that, you know, that it's continual, right?
Yeah.
It's just ongoing. You've got it's a commitment as well. And I suppose
Yes.
that's something that, you know, when you want to be, you know, get to the top of your game, you've just
Yeah.
got to keep going, haven't you? You've got to
Yeah.
keep learning, you've got to keep practicing.
Yeah.
Like what you're saying about failure as well.
Yeah.
And recognizing that this failure, you know, it exists, right? And if it's how you react to the failure, take the next step, continue in the process.
Yeah, it's hard, you know. I mean, for me, this 4 or 5 years has been like super busy and super exciting in terms of work. But obviously, I had a lot of like up and down. So I've been uh, I've been lucky to talk with you know, with my friends, other people, to kind of like compare experience, to understand, you know, what's going on, how the, you know, okay, not only in terms of like work, because there are moments, for example, if you're working, believe it or not, you're like producing so much work that you feel also exhausted, and you like feeling like maybe I don't know if I can paint in the same way. I don't know if I can say and express what I would like to say in the right way, because maybe you're tired, and then you had different pressure from your work, pressure of your life. But I think that you always have to remember that it's fine. You know, it's fine also if you have a break. It's fine. It's fine also to. I know it's hard. But you need first of all to accept yourself, to avoid, you know, to go into like very dark, you know, moment of your life, or very, you know, difficult. So you have. I mean, my advice is like, if you feel unwell, and that if you start to feel that you've got like too much pressure, I think it's important that you recognize these, and yeah, I'm trying to, sorry, I'm getting distracted reading. We can have a look at this in a minute. And then step back a minute, acknowledge that, say yourself that it's fine, and then get back to work. But with a different, being aware in different way as well. So just like, don't ignore what happened, because you need to learn from what happened to avoid that will happen, you know, the next time. So maybe try to learn how to deal with the pressure in a, you know, in a different way, and then maybe consider to talk to, you know, friends or partner or other people, and maybe delegate some time, maybe schedule. Just, I think that there's so much going on in the life of a full-time artist, because it's not all about painting in the studio. You have to taking care about your social media channels, newsletter, galleries, art agents, delivery, couriers, personal life, if you find the space. So there's so much, you know, going on. So
Yeah.
so yeah,
All the bits
it's
that you
very
know you
hard.
don't. When you hear about, you know, someone who's like, you don't think about, do you? If you're a bike, you don't necessarily think about all those other things
No.
that are going on, but they're there.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of people that are like, oh, you know, you're doing great. And I'm like, yeah. Yeah. It's like, because maybe the people, I think, that rely a lot on your also social media channel, your work online, the people with you are working with. But there's, I mean, we are all grown up, so we know that there are other things going on. But it's yeah, I think that also a certain ability to swim on yeah, on those unpredictable yeah, situations. So yeah.
And just on the chat with the comment from Fabio there,
Yeah.
talking about change being an opportunity. So we
Yeah.
you know, we're talking about the, you know, this continual learning journey, and
Okay.
as you go through it, but change and just trying to mix things up give you an opportunity to see things from completely different perspectives, which then
Yeah.
in turn help you examine your work a bit more.
Yeah, I think that from my perspective, change is always positive, always. And I think also that the more older we get, and the less risky we become, and the less difficult we find to deal with the changing. So I think that, to be honest, if you have an opportunity to face a change, you know, I think you should kind of like embrace it for evolving, for growing. And because it means that there's another open door that is there and is ready to open like, up for you, and then you should kind of like open this door. And yeah, I mean, at this moment, I've got like so much changing going on. Just only the fact that I changed my studio yesterday, and the studio that, yes, you've seen that
Wow.
studio.
I've been there.
Yes,
So where have you gone? Where are you now?
Across the road, Delta Studios.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, it was hard. It was hard, but then at some point, I've seen, you know, it's almost that you see yourself kind of like double. You see what you really want, and then you see attachment. But attachment in a way that you don't need that anymore, you know? I mean, there are reasons because I left the studio, and I accept myself for that, and it's fine, you know? I changed studio, and I feel great now. It's just that it will be something new.
Mm.
And
And again,
not far from where I live again. So.
well, that helps. That helps, and it's changed. You know, you got to embrace these things, don't you? You know, you've
Yeah.
always got to go in with the attitude that this is going to be the right thing. I'm doing it, so it's the right thing. So,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
and embrace the different environment. I suppose for you as well, that might become important.
Completely. I mean, just only from the fact that I have a window now. So,
Oh,
oh, Charlie. Like, oh, sorry, I can see like Fabio and Charlie. Oh, yes. And then I have a window. I was actually discussing this with Charlie last time, and it's yeah, it's great. I mean, I always wanted to have a window, and then I think that I didn't want to, you know, to move studio because my studio space was great, was big. But at some point, just I couldn't paint anymore in a certain way. Like I
right
needed to
time.
have I needed to have the window. I wanted to see the light. I
Yeah.
wanted to have the connection with the outside. Is it raining? Is it snowing? Is it sunny?
Well,
I
that, you
don't
know,
know.
well, hearing what you were talking about right at the beginning of this chat, that doesn't surprise me in the least. That you need that connection with the outside world, so that you can just immediately, intuitively put that into your practice. Especially when you're talking about all the, you know, talking about how you're inspired by nature, and the flight of the bird and the walks in the park and all that sort of stuff. Seems to be that innately you are connected.
Yeah.
So having the light must be important.
No, I think it's really important because you know, it's yeah, it's not only about your work, it's also about yourself, and then you need to feel yourself. And yeah, as I say, we are, you know, we are human beings, so we need a certain connection. Yeah, we know so important. Yes,
They are.
absolutely.
They are.
Yes, yes.
Right, Laura, I'm gonna leave it there. We've chatted for a
Okay.
good time there, but
Oh,
you know, thanks
fantastic.
for
Yeah.
joining us on Inspiring City TV. If you are
Yeah.
interested in cool art stuff, I'll be writing up about Laura soon. This video is going to be online as well. InspiringCity.com, which is an amazing art log. And if I just say so myself,
which is great.
Gotta be said. Gotta be said. So thanks very much for joining.
Thank you very much to everyone. I saw a lot of people that I know.
Yeah, a lot of people.
So thank you very much for everyone that, to follow the conversation, and then really curious to see the feedback and to hear all the feedback.
And looking forward to the show when it happens as well.
Yeah, you must get the flight. You must get the flight.
I'm going to be out there as soon as you can.
Yeah,
on the way.
Absolutely.
Right. See you all later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.